Luxury car maker Rolls-Royce is all set to go green as it gears up to launch its first fully electric car next year. And in light of the recent changes in policies and laws, RR has even pledged to ditch their signature 12-cylinder petrol engines to go fully electric by 2040, with CEO Torsten Müller-Ötvös claiming that they have an edge over other players in the EV industry. Keep watching for more on the story. First up, the most expensive car on the block. Rolls-Royce is perhaps the most expensive and premium car brand on the planet. It's estimated that an average RR can cost anywhere from $450,000, with the older models starting from $300,000. So just because the luxury car maker has decided to go electric now doesn't mean the price will fall. We're being told that the first electric RR will cost anywhere from $300,000 to $600,000, and it's not like the car maker is going to be compromising on quality or feel. The company has promised its first electric car will look, drive, and feel exactly like a traditional Rolls-Royce without all the harmful emissions. Company CEO Torsten Müller-Ötvös claims they always had plans to go electric, but it was actually their clients who forced RR to speed up the process. Rolls-Royce was getting a lot of requests from its clientele who wanted to drive emission-free in urban city centers. Torsten also thinks this step will significantly benefit the company since it changes nothing about its business model. Rolls-Royce has never really focused on increasing its volume because of the limited client base, since their vehicles are super expensive and only for the wealthy. The company sells an average of around 5,500 cars per year, so the fact that the Spectre is priced so high means the company is on terms with not having to sell too many units. Next, an edge over other players in the industry. The EV industry is becoming super competitive day by day. There's not a lot that manufacturers can do when it comes to the batteries or the charging systems because the technology is so similar. But when CEO Torsten Müller-Ötvös says RR has an edge over other EV players in the industry, what in the world is he even talking about? Of course, Rolls-Royce will always be more premium, but the fact that it's so expensive also means it won't be a market leader. If you ask us, we see a Tesla being the vehicle of choice when the world finally goes fully electric. For starters, it's significantly cheaper than an RR. When conventional fuel-powered vehicles are finally banned off the road, consumers will eventually have to make the switch to electric. And since the majority of them can't afford to drop a boatload of cash on an electric Rolls, they'll prefer settling on something like a Tesla. Or look at it this way, Rolls-Royce only sells 5,500 vehicles a year, and that low volume is exactly what gives it an edge. To manufacture an electric vehicle, companies like Tesla and Rolls-Royce need what's called a semiconductor. Tesla makes almost 1 million cars per year, so that means they need 1 million semiconductors. RR, on the other hand, will need very few semiconductors, meaning they'll be able to keep the production afloat, while other large-volume EV companies compete for the tiny magical chips. So, not having to compete or sell 1 million cars a year is what gives the luxury car maker an edge over other players in the market. Moving on, rival luxury sports brands. Now, a lot of you might think it's unfair. We compared Rolls with Tesla. One is a car manufacturer for everyday customers, while the other is a luxurious brand only for the ultra-rich. Wouldn't it be better to compare RR to other luxury sports brands? That would make things fair, right? Well, even if we did do that, Rolls-Royce would still have an edge. And it won't be because of the volume or something, it'll actually be because of one tiny interesting detail about their cars. Since Rolls-Royce has always tried to make their vehicles as silent as possible, their clients won't feel a difference when they shift to electric. Rival luxury sports car brands cash in on that traditional, fuel-powered engine roar. But RR, on the other hand, never focused on a revving engine. Sports cars need to crack the sound, while for us, being without sound is part of the brand. Following up, private charging parks. Torsten did say something that might be a bit of a problem when the company finally releases its first electric car in 2023. Unlike traditional customers, people purchasing an electric RR would not be reliant on public charging parks. They'd want an equally premium service to charge their vehicles without having to wait in lines. And while there hasn't been any confirmation as of yet, the company has been thinking about building separate charging points for RR users around the country. It could also mean that they'll only be launching the Spectre in a few zones, since it'll be easier to manage the charging problem. Also, this is a very interesting idea because Volkswagen literally listed a part of Porsche to raise money and build a private charging park for their wealthy customers. But lucky for Torsten and the company, RR has so much money stashed away in the bank that they don't need to raise any money for complete electrification. Up next, goodbye petrol engines. Now Rolls-Royce will continue to produce their classic vehicles with petrol engines as long as it's legal, but that's only until 2040. The UK and France have both announced that car makers will have to go completely electric by 2040, with other countries pursuing similar goals. It hasn't been announced yet, but even Germany wants to get rid of such engines by 2040, with China stating that at least 1/5 of the total cars in the country need to be electric by 2025. So it's pretty obvious why RR is saying goodbye to its signature 12-cylinder petrol engine, but it's still regarded as a good move for the company since they've always sort of chased that silent, powerful, and torquey feeling for their premium vehicles. And while we're losing our minds just waiting to see the first electric Rolls-Royce hit the road, a lot of industry experts have called it a very embarrassing moment for the luxury car maker. Since they've always had the money to go after unconventional solutions, a lot of industry experts think it's embarrassing that it is leading the electrification race from behind. We're not really sure if we agree with that, but considering RR competes with luxury sports brands like Bugatti and Ferrari, it's still a front runner when it comes to electric vehicles. Now, legal requirements, not environmental concerns. Torsten Müller-Ötvös claims that Rolls-Royce isn't going electric because it needs, it's going electric because it has to. What does he mean by that? Well, since there aren't a lot of their vehicles on the road, the luxury car brand presents fewer environmental concerns compared to others. And you also have to look at how no one really uses an RR too extensively or for long distances, so the mileage on a typical Royce is much lower compared to the average car. The reason why it's going electric is that of legal requirements. And while only countries like the UK and France have announced that car makers must go electric by 2040, Torsten likes to think ahead and predicts most developed countries will be following a similar timeline. But regardless of all that, the CEO still thinks electrification is the future, and it's best the company prepares itself as soon as possible. We get what he's trying to say here, and the math probably supports his claim too. But just because there are fewer RRs on a road doesn't mean the company isn't doing damage. At the end of the day, a petrol engine is still a petrol engine. The brand still sells 5,500 vehicles per year, and that's a lot of engines if you ask us. But anyway, credit to the company for being the first luxury sports car brand to announce complete electrification by 2040. Last but not least, it's been in the pipeline. Believe it or not, plans of launching an all-electric, fully autonomous Rolls-Royce have been in the works for quite some time now. The luxury car maker first revealed its Concept 103EX version, which looked like something straight out of a sci-fi film. We did have our questions though, like how the car would go over a speed breaker, but it just goes to show you how experts are wrong about RR leading from behind. The company has actually been planning a move for quite some time now, and since countries are finally starting to push complete electrification of transport, Rolls-Royce finds itself in a really good position to kick things off. What's even more interesting is how car makers in the same niche as RR will respond to their first ever electric car. That's it from our side, folks. So, what do you think about Rolls-Royce going electric by 2040? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.